Greetings team. So today I have for you some tips and tricks I've picked up over the years. We're going to start out with something fairly simple with very large components, mostly through hole, and then we're going to move our way up to a more complex board with a few finer pitched components there. Main trick for that one is we're going to go ahead and use one of these bad boys from PCB Way. This one is the one with the frame. That's the first tip I'm going to drop on you. You are going to want to add the frame unless you have one of those fancy machines that can press and hold down over the top of this. Everything I'm going to show you in this video, I'm going to drop a link below for an Amazon affiliate link. And if it isn't on Amazon, I'll show you where to get it on DigiKey. For example, the solder paste. Obviously that's DigiKey. Another tip on solder paste. You need to keep this refrigerated when not using it. The reason for that is it starts to separate over time, so you're definitely going to want to keep that cool. First things first here, these are not actually soldered. They were just checking fitment. All these parts were brand new in my library, so I had to check them out. I have a hot plate for if we were actually going to put the screen down and then squeegee the solder paste across, I would just use a hot plate. But because we only have 4 components that are surface mount, we're going to go ahead and just use our good old-fashioned hot air gun. Now the reason we're actually going to use the solder paste for these components, which are, by the way, these guys right here, these are just diodes that can take 8 amps of current. The reason we're going to do that is because this is a thermal pad and you want as much solder contact on that pad as you possibly can. So simply soldering around the edge does not give it good thermal conductivity. So you are unfortunately going to want to do this. And what's nice for these is it's just a very small amount right in the middle here. Gotta give it a good squeeze. Just a little dollop just like that. And even smaller amount on the other ends there. And don't worry if it's a little messy, the heating process will move them into place. All right, there we go. And then of course you got to pull her back a little bit. So if it's pushed all the way up, you're gonna want to pull her down just a bit so that way it doesn't leak. And we're gonna go ahead and open these up. For these larger components, it's fairly simple to just grab them by the little middle piece there, and then you can just set them gingerly where they need to go. Squish it around on the main plate there. Because as I said, that's the whole reason why we're using thermal paste, and you're going to want to see that kind of squish out a little bit right there. See that? Now, since this is a fairly large part, you don't have to worry too much about placement. They'll kind of move into place as you set them. So when you run that, you're going to need your fume extractor running. And so, sorry for the noise. And then we're going to go ahead and get our heat gun going here. I have it at 250C, 50% fan speed for this particular model. And the reason it's only at 50% fan speed is because I don't want to blow my part away. So you're going to want to push all the way around here. Ooh. I might have the fan speed up a little too high. So you can kind of see the solder paste gently melting. And you'll see it turn silver at some point there. Great, the legs are all done. Unfortunately, we had not got the main pad yet. And there we go. I'm seeing some foot. There we go. There it is. Okay, beautiful. So there we go. Very nice. Get a little close up here. So you can see the metal residue up top right there. It's gotten all the way around it. You can see the metal pushed up from the back there. You're going to want to make sure that you didn't put too much paste on there to where you get little bubbles like this one. You're going to want to take those off, otherwise they might dislodge and go somewhere you don't want them to go. This particular part likes to scoot towards the legs here. So you're going to want to check the connection and make sure that no solder got between the legs and the main mass. Otherwise, you're just bypassing that part. Anytime you solder something by hand, you are going to want to perform a visual inspection, which is why one of these, pretty much absolutely necessary. I'm going to push it up for you to see, but this is just a magnifying glass that has a nice light source on it that allows you to inspect your soldered components. Whenever soldering sort of smaller, flimsier components, add as much metal to them as you can. This is why I put the fuse inside of this fuse holder before I solder it, so that way the little legs don't overheat and melt through. It's just something to be aware of. What's nice too is it adds a nice spot to kind of put your finger down on it when you flip it over and solder the tips down. So how I typically end up doing that is I push up a little bit of solder like so, get my iron, just sort of fill off the top there, and then solder one of the components partially like that. And then that way I can let go and it holds on the underside, and then I can just go ahead and finish off the rest of these and push those down like that. And so I'm going to finish this, but got to turn on that fume extractor. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and pop this bad boy on. Same principle as before. Hold it with your finger, slide it over the top, get your solder prepped up like that. Dab a little on the iron, a big nice blob on the iron, and just tack one of the legs. Then you can kind of set her down and do the other leg. And then in this case, not really a soldering tip, but more of a design tip. I have these nice 12 volt rated LEDs, and what it is they just put the resistance required in this little body here, so you don't have to put it on your board. And you also get this very nice package like that. And for LEDs and very long leaded components, when you put them in, you just bend them backwards, and then you can hold them down like so, solder them just as we've done already before. And you'll notice that I can keep that fume extractor fairly far away from my part, and the fumes still make their way over there and not in my face, as you can hopefully see. Alright, and then after you have those soldered, you just flush cut them like so. These Deutsch connectors are kind of fun. So these little nubs don't actually go through these holes. What you are supposed to do, if you're hand soldering these, I would actually recommend putting them on and then screwing in the, I think they're M2.5 for these specific ones, in first, then going through and soldering. The reason I say that is it can kind of flex a little bit. For this device, which is just a little tester and I'm not putting it in a housing, doesn't matter that much, so I'm just going to go ahead, and I didn't buy the screws yet, otherwise I would just go ahead and screw them in, but since I didn't do that yet, I'm just going to go ahead and solder these just so I can test this little board out. There we have it, one channel done. So I'm going to go ahead and solder the rest of these, and then we'll move on to the more complicated PCB. All right, so here we are. You can kind of see the outline. We'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit there. There we go. That is the finest piece. And I had to look, you have to look straight down onto this thing to really get if it's actually pressing down or properly affixed to everything. So you're at a top view here, so you can kind of see that you are indeed over each metal pad. You're going to need a squeegee. You can get these on DigiKey. This is a 3M brand. You probably get them on Amazon. I'll look for you. And then, of course, your thermal compound. And how this works is you just squeegee some out like so, all the way across the full width of your board. There we go. Take your squeegee and push it across. So why I say you get the frame is when you push down on the edges, like so, it actually acts as a weight to hold the screen over the board. If you didn't have this, you'd have to make your own, but I've found that you can actually just put one hand over the side and just go ahead and run it across here. And I did not have nearly enough solder paste on there, so we're going to go ahead and dump a ton more on. Almost preferred to get the big tub when you're doing this part, just because you need to squeegee it across the whole platform here. And you'll kind of see it stopped right there. We're going to go back. Keep going. We're going to add some where it stopped last. Go ahead and zoom you back in here. And we'll do another round of it right here again. Again, we're going to not be stingy. You'll notice it does kind of move a little bit on me, but that does not matter that much because, like I said, the frame holds her in very nicely. Can even go other directions if you like. And you did see it kind of lifted off on that side there. Okay, there we go. You can kind of, like I said, squeegee her on through. Oop, did not get that component yet. Come on. Get in there, you. Okay. You can kind of see it with the shiny there. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and just lift this straight up. Oh, there she goes. Okay. There we go. Here we are. You can see the thermal compound on all the parts. Even the fine pitched ones do have a little bit of gap in between them. Now you're going to want to keep this cold until you can lay the components down. So we're going to very quickly do that. So I've been placing these fairly annoying, difficult. These are 06 size components. So we'll go ahead and I'll show you that. There she is right there. So these are very fun to place. I typically dump them out and then flip them around. Luckily these are all the same size, so I can just sort of hover over the spot and oh boy, it's stuck on there. Don't want it to stick. Come on now. Oh no. Oh, it's tough doing this while trying to show a camera. So we're gonna go ahead and try this again, but right here, and you just sort of set it down and there we go. Try and grab this without damaging the paste. There. And then here's how I kind of flip it. You just turn it and then tap it. And there we go. So I'm grabbing on the sides of it because the paste goes on the ends like that, see? And if you're off a little bit, you can nudge it and even tap them down to help secure them. So, all right, here we are. This is a lead-free solder, melts at 138C. So we went ahead and set it to 140C. Watch this bad boy melt. Okay. So it's this part right here. Didn't quite get it, and hit her with a little hot air here. There we go. That is all she needed to finish off here. Cools off pretty nicely, but we're just gonna remove it from heat quicker than the knot there. A beautiful board. Even those small little components did pretty good. I'm going to throw it under the microscope and take a quick look. I'm going to grab a picture for you guys to show you. There's some components that I think I might have to go through with the old solder flux and throw a little heat on them. I should not have picked those very small chipsets, but they're looking all right. That's what we got the magnifying glass for. All right, so in addition to the flux and hitting it with the solder pencil, I did have to go ahead and tap some of the solder away with good old-fashioned wire wick, or super wick, apparently, lead-free. And I only had to do that on these little guys, so I am really regretting those packages. Luckily there was only 4. But till next time, I'm the ill-informed human. Goodbye.